What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the best show on a Friday night. Welcome to Hockey Stick Talk Nation with me, Dan, and my special guest tonight, BuilderBu Rips. So, welcome everyone. As we do, let's give a big shout out to everyone who's popped into the chat right quick. As we do here, we have the Autograph Fisherman, John Burgers, in here, and don't forget about his show Sunday night, the TTM Crew, with their 1-year anniversary stream. The link is pinned to the top, so make sure you guys go check them out. We have Robert Springs in here. Scroll down here. Thanks for coming, Robert. Appreciate you. We have CCB in the house, Canadian Card Breakers. He's going to try to break me tonight, but that's not going to happen. We have Barry Berry's in the house. Barry, hope all is well. Glad you're here. Glad to see ya. We have Dewey in the house. We have Zach's Collections in the house. What's going on, Zach? Thanks for coming. Barry says, can we please talk about the Bruins and Pens game while the Bruins are ahead? Well, Barry, they might win. This against the Penguins, so they might win. So keep your head up. We got Goza, my brother from over in England, my New York Rangers fan. Goza, I'm sorry, but our Rangers are looking terrible this year. So I think Kreider might be gone. Truer might be gone. I hear rumblings. Keandre Miller might be gone. Just everybody. But yeah, so thank you all for coming. We have Dig It just popped in. Thanks for coming, Dig It. Thank you all for coming tonight. If you haven't noticed, this is my guest, BuilderBu Rips. We're going to have a great time tonight. We got some cards to rip. We got some hockey talk to go over. It's going to be a fun one. So I hope you all buckle up and join in, and let's get started. And as we do, we got to give a big shout out to the channel sponsor. We can pull it up here. My computer's being slow today, so bear with me, guys. Give a shout out to Tsunami Hockeycards. If you're looking for cards for your collection, just collecting a player, why not check out Tsunami Hockeycards? Use the code DMHockey88 to save 25% off your first purchase. So without that, let's dive right into the show. BuilderBu, how are you tonight? How's things going with you?
All right, here we go. I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on the show. You know what? This is my first live show. I've turned down a few in the past. Just the timing wasn't right, and I've been busy with other things. So you caught me at a good time, and, you know, I'm just totally thrilled to be here.
Awesome. I'm glad to have you. This is going to be a fun night. Many of you guys, if you haven't checked out BuilderBu, I have his channel in the description, so make sure you go sub him up, hit him with a like, check out his videos. Always great time over there. He rips some really cool stuff too as well. So as we can see, BuilderBu is a Montreal Canadiens fan.
Born
I
and
know
raised.
we have a lot of Toronto Maple Leafs fans in here, so they're used to disappointment. So, but they'll be making fun of you tonight. So just you can give them right back to them. I do.
Yeah. So, okay. So I'm new here to this whole streaming thing. Like I said, it's my first live stream ever. I don't see any of the chats happening in here, so I can't see what people are saying. Am I supposed to be pressing something here? Like, what's the deal? Help me out,
No.
Dan.
I'll usually just read the chat. John Bird subbed up to you. Is this a battle of the worst Canadian team night with the jerseys from CCB? CCB, what are you talking about? No one has a Leafs jersey here.
Yeah.
Okay? No one.
And don't forget, Habs 2029, folks. 2029. You heard it here first.
Barry says, congratulations on the first live stream, BuilderBu.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Goza says, Toronto Maple Losers from 1967. Oh, Goza. You're going to start something tonight. I know it. But no, let's dive right in. We got some great people in the chat. We got a great show. BuilderBu, you're a Canadiens fan. So what do you think of the new series 2024. We got some cards to look out for. What are your thoughts on the Lane Hudson Young Gun?
So I'm actually starting a Lane Hudson PC. I'm a huge fan of Hudson. I think he brings this skill set that's very unique and a lot of players, don't have. So, I mean, there's going to be growing pains 100%, right? Like he had a -4 game and he wasn't happy about that. And you want to see that in a kid. Just recently had another -3 game, but the team's growing and he's going to have to learn with them. But that offensive upside is just phenomenal, right? And we'll see, what that looks like in 2 or 3 years. But right now, it's just going to be a learning process. So
He's
yeah,
got potential to be huge too.
absolutely. I mean, he's not a big guy, and he plays defense, so that might be problematic. But as long as you know, he gets good puck separation and covers his lanes well. Um, that offense will make up for it. And he's learning when to go on offense and when to lay back as well. I think early on in the season with those -4 games, he was kind of pressing it a bit. So again, all part of the process, right? With any of these young guys, you got to give them time. You got to let them make mistakes and understand that they are going to make mistakes, but they need to learn from it, right? So in 3 or 4 years, if this is still happening, it's a different story. But when these guys are just coming into the league, it's going to happen. It happens to all the young players.
Yeah, shout out to Maiden's World of Wax. Thanks for coming, Maiden, my good buddy. And then we got his young gun's going for like $85 US too.
So did you see what his 1 of 1 gold outburst went for?
I did not.
I think it was something like $18,000.
Wow,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is
So
nuts.
yeah, it was pulled from a friend of mine in Quebec. The company is called Savage Cards and Breaks, and they pulled it and they posted it on eBay for whoever won it in the break, and I think it sold for $18,000. It's just
That's
insane.
awesome.
Yeah,
And that could like double or triple in years to come too.
I don't know. $18,000 is a lot for one hockey card, but again, a hockey mad city like Montreal, you're going to find inflated prices for players, and especially for 1 of 1 cards. It's
And
it's
then we
a
got
different
go ahead.
market for sure. It's a different market for sure.
Yeah. And then we got we're looking for the A lines of Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, and Slavkovsky, who seems to start finding his foot now when he was put on the second line. We've seen that scoring come back up a little bit.
Caulfield?
Slavkovsky, or
Slav. Okay.
yeah, Slav.
Yeah, so I kind of disagree with the line changes because there's only 3 games when they broke up that first line, and at the time Caulfield was tied for first in goals, and why would you do that, right? So again, I'm not a coach. This is just one fan's opinion of, I think it was a little too early to blow that up because things were working.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not the coach, and the coach is going to do what he needs to do. So if you thought that's best, but yeah.
And then it seems like something really clicked into Cole Caulfield this year after the passing of Johnny Gaudreau and taking over his number. It seems to be something kind of clicked in him that we haven't seen for last year.
Yeah, so I think last year, just going back to taking the number 13. That's I have no words for that. I'm just it inspires me, and I have this kind of this soft spot for that type of stuff, and it's his hero, right?
Yeah.
But so going back to Caulfield, I don't think it's so much things changing for him this year in a sense of what he's doing, because I think last year was just bad puck luck because he had the shots roughly around the same amount of shots per game that he's enjoying today, but a really low shooting percentage, right? So I think it's just more that the shooting percentage is starting to normalize a little bit better, and that's kind of where he should be right now.
Yeah. And Nick Suzuki's looking pretty good so far too lately.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a constant performer for the Habs for sure. So if there's one thing that you can rely on the last couple of years, it's Suzuki, right? So speaking of which, since we're on the topic of Suzuki and 24-25 Series 1, I had gotten a red outburst McDavid in a group break, and it was damaged. So I sent it back to Upper Deck, and they sent me this bad boy.
Let me just pull you up here so they can see. It might take a second here.
Sure thing.
Oh, come on.
So this was my replacement card.
Nice. Let's do this here. There we go.
Oh.
That is nice.
So it's a red retro Young Guns of Nick Suzuki number 25. Now, a lot of times when we send replacement cards to Upper Deck, I hear a lot of people complain that either they didn't get fair value for what they exchanged, or just not happy with the replacement card in general. But I do have to say, for in this case, I was pleasantly surprised. I actually was happy, thinking this was just a Nick Suzuki Young Gun that they sent me, right? Because I only saw the back of it. Like, this is the only thing I saw. And then when I flipped it over, I was like, what the? Right? So that's a pleasant surprise, 100% for sure.
Definitely. And I watched that video. You were actually surprised. You're like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. I think I might have been happy it was just the Suzuki Young Gun for sure. But yeah, so.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then pull the slide back up here. We got a couple more here.
Yeah, and so going back to the A-lines, I actually pulled the A-lines of Montreal and Minnesota, both my PC players, so Caulfield and Kaprizov. So nice. Yeah, no, those are cool cards. Those are cool cards for sure.
Shout out to Tex Hockey for stopping in. Alex J's Mix coming in. We got my good buddy Aaron Sportscards and things here. So thank you all for coming. I haven't seen the checkpoints, but Slav got a checkpoint card here as well.
Yeah, that's kind of just like a base insert, and there's like a couple of parallels to them. So there's your base one, and then you got a speckled one, which is kind of shiny, and there's a black version as well. I don't know. There might even be a 1-on-1. I don't know. But I know those three for sure. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about those cards, really, but, it's cool that Upper Deck tries to highlight and spotlight some players who otherwise wouldn't get a lot of love, right? So obviously Suffolkowski would, but some other hard hitters in the game, you just kind of overlook them, right? And so that's what that set's more or less about is the guys throwing the big booming checks.
Shout out to Dennis IGH Outdoors for popping in. Thanks, Dennis. Then we got the Cole Caulfield satellites. City satellites.
Yeah, so the city satellites are also cool. Shiny card. I guess, a fairly common insert, but pretty card. Yeah.
And then we got John Burge's favorite, the Dazzlers. We got the Cole Caulfield Dazzlers.
Yeah, so I think that's one that I don't have, to be honest with you. I think I have most of my 24-25 PC set, and I don't think I have a Caulfield Dazzlers. Like, if I do, I don't remember getting it. But
and then we'll move on to the next one here.
So we got the fun.
Four Nations Cup, the final roster for Team Finland. So we've already covered Canada, US, and Sweden. So this is the Team Finland one. So for the forwards, we got Sebastian Aho, we got Alexander Barkov, Mikkel Gremlin, Eric Halla, Rope Hintz, Arturi Lehkonen, Antoine Lindell, Eetu Listerainen, Matthias Michelli, Mikko Rantanen, Teuvo Teravainen, and Ilya Tovin. That is a solid forward line, I'd have to say.
Well, one thing you could say about those lines is that very defensively responsible. So that's going to cause, a lot of teams trouble. But I think we're going to segue after to the defense, and that might be a little bit suspect. We'll see. We'll see what people say. But as far as the forward group goes, it's a good balance of scoring and defensive responsibility for sure. And let's, shout out to Mikkel Granlund and the year he's having.
Definitely. Especially on San Jose, too.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think this player is very underrated, doesn't get talked about a whole lot because of everybody that's around him. But Antoine Lindell, he came, I think he was 4th round pick for Florida, or the 4th pick in the draft for Florida. And he reminds me so much of a Barkov. It's not even funny.
Yeah. And I think he's now on the second line because he was stuck on that third line for the longest time, starting at the third line.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's second line now. But yeah, no better mentor to have than a Sasha Barkov as a young center. So
yeah,
he really lucked out.
He did. And now we'll jump into our defense here. We got Jan Hockba, who says Dallas, but he's actually on Toronto. That was a mistake on my error. And then we have Miro Heiskanen, Henry Yukaharu, Esa Lindell, Oli Mata, Nico Mikkola, Rasmus Ristolainen, and UC Valimaki. The one name that really stands out to me is Miro Heiskanen.
Yeah, definitely going to be the leader of that defensive core for sure, 100%. I'm very intrigued by Rasmus Ristolainen. There's a lot of talk about him getting moved out of Philly over there, right? So the thing is with him is he puts up a lot of hits. He blocks a lot of shots, and you know what? If the position you're playing is called defense, then that's what he's doing, right? Obviously being on Philadelphia, plus minus is not always going to look great. He's been in Buffalo in the really bad years, so that doesn't look great either. But I think that's why they say the plus minus is such an archaic stat, because it doesn't really reflect, his play.
Definitely. And goes out a question for you. Who is your favorite hockey player?
Who is my favorite hockey player? I have two, and they're tied, and that's both Cole Caulfield and Kirill Kaprizov. So I PC both of those guys.
Nice. Two really good guys. One, the Julie Farnham special.
Yeah, is Julie in chat? Shout out to Julie if she is.
Not yet. She usually pops in a little bit later, but she'll be here. Christopher Works is here. Thanks for coming, Christopher. And now we'll jump into the goalies, which to me, these are one goalie is still undecided for me. We got Ville Husso, Ukko-Pekka Linkinen, and UC Saros. The one goalie that really iffy on is Husso.
Yeah, so yeah, I feel like that he's probably gonna be third string, and we had a little chat about this before we came online, and I think we somewhat have a difference of opinion here. So to me, UPL is a starter just because of the season he's having and how bad Nashville and Saros have been playing this year. But then when you go on credentials and career wise, right? Obviously we're all going to say that obviously Saros has had the better career. So I'm curious to the viewers online right now, what are you prioritizing? Are you prioritizing things that someone has done in the past so that you know that they can handle a situation like this? Or do you prioritize who's having the better year? So curious to hear what the folks online have to say about this. I say it's going with who's having the best year, but
Me, I said UC Saros as we talked backstage. I just think right now it's his net as just by the veteran presence. That's how I would look at it. Chat, what do you guys think? Who you guys think is going to be the starter out of the three? Let us know. While we wait for the chat, BuilderBu, we have another question for you.
all right, what's up? What's the question?
Who is your favorite goalie in the 70s and 80s for Montreal?
In the 70s and 80s. Well, I was still really young back then, so who's my 70s, 80s favorite? Yeah. I don't think I have an answer for that, to be honest with you. A little bit before my time in terms of really watching hockey. But I'll tell you what, I love Carey Price. I think the world of Carey Price. But when I think about a Montreal goalie, I think about the 2 cups and cheering him on and him being my neighbor or living a few blocks down from me. And that's going to be Patrick Roy. So for me, when I think Habs goalie, we lived a long time with Carey Price, but we also had Patrick Roy. So to me, Patrick was my guy.
Nice. Another question for you. Who is your favorite player that played for the Leafs and the Habs?
The Leafs and the Habs, Kingston's own Doug Gilmour.
Nice.
I think, like, even though he took that weird penalty and smashed the penalty box and got an extra 2 for it, which I think cost the game in the playoffs. I'm a big fan of some of what is lost in hockey today, and I'm not shy to say that I do like some of the rough stuff. I understand we're going towards a more skilled game, and we're taking some of that stuff out of the game, yada yada yada. As someone who's watched hockey in the 90s, like, if someone hasn't watched hockey in the 90s and has only seen more recent hockey, they wouldn't believe some of the things that were going on back then, right?
Definitely.
Like, we revere Mark Messier, but go watch some of his tapes, right? And he's elbowing people in the jaw left, right, and center.
Yes, that he is. So then we'll break down to our news around the league here. And it looks like the chat is 50-50. We got some Saros and some Yuko. So that's cool.
Well, yeah, because it's 50-50. You and I are 50-50, so it makes sense that the chat's there as well. Get going, folks.
Then CCB said 2 words, Scott Stevens.
Yeah. Early Dion Phaneuf with the Flames. Holy Moses.
Yeah, he was a wrecking ball.
But you watch some of those hits, and they are thunderous hits, right? People weren't getting injured like they're taking hits today, right? So it's also a bit of balance where, like, people knew how to take hits back then, and guys are just turning their backs today, right? So
I see a lot as a coach, a lot of players still skate with their heads down, and that's really what drives it too. They're not bracing themselves for the hit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so news around the league. So the Four Nations Cup's roster reveal will be on December 4th, and the tournament begins February 12th with Canada versus Sweden in Montreal. So that'll be a really good start-off game right there.
Yeah, and I think you've mentioned in the past that, we love Canada's forward roster. We love Canada's defense roster. The problem is what we have going on in nets, right?
Yeah.
And that scares me somewhat. But only one way to find out how this is all going to end up, and it's just to watch those games. But
Definitely. And then Ottawa plays Zach McEwen on waivers. Jets' Dylan Sandberg suffers a broken leg. And then this is, I think, every Canadian's favorite. Sidney Crosby gets his 600th career goal to move him up to 600. So that's great on Crosby to see.
yeah, who doesn't love Sidney Crosby, right? And yeah, I'm glad that I've gone to watch basically his entire career, right? So I caught some of Gretzky, I caught the tail end of Mario Lemieux's, you know, got to see all of Crosby and watch him grow. And I think a lot of us probably online right now are saying the same thing. And I know a lot of non-hockey fans became hockey fans because of the golden goal, right? And, you know, Sidney Crosby generated and created a lot of hockey fans out there.
And just so some of you already know, BuilderBu doesn't. We didn't talk about this backstage, but I watched Crosby coming up in this queue. And I also played hockey with Crosby, McKinnon, and Marchand.
No way.
So it was
That's
they
awesome.
actually we were at a pickup, and the three came in on the off season and asked to join to play with us. So I got a little bit of a taste of the maritime line, as I'll call it, the Crosby, McKinnon, and Marchand if they do run it.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Super fun. All three really great guys. Marchand is a pest on the ice, but off the ice is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. I know Montreal fans don't like him, but
No, not true, not true. I am a huge Brad Marchand fan, and I say it on my channel many times. Like, it's almost blasphemous for me as a Habs fan to say that I like Boston players, right? But Brad Marchand, you hate him when he's on the other team. I guarantee you, you would love him when he's on your team, right? We had greats like Patrice Bergeron, right? Like, who in hockey does not appreciate what Bergeron brought to the game? And then Pass is just a funny guy and a great, hockey player.
question for you. Did you watch the 1989 Stanley Cup Finals Go Flames from John Burgess?
So 89 would have been 12, right? Something around there. I'm dating myself for you guys here. Yeah, so I don't remember. Is that when Lanny McDonald? You know what? One of my coworkers, shout out to Mary. She was living in Calgary at the time, and she kind of brought that up. So it's funny that you brought that up as well. Yeah.
And then Robert said he just subscribed to your channel, but he asked, do you like any other sports than hockey?
I absolutely do. Sorry, I just saw something pop up saying about Boston players. So I absolutely do. I grew up a baseball fan. Such a huge baseball fan, in fact, that we joked that it was kind of like a prenup with my wife, that I will name our firstborn son after my favorite two baseball players. So those of you out there, my son's full name is Kenneth Griffey Franklin Thomas, right? So after Ken Griffey and Frank Thomas, my two favorite players in the 90s. So yes, I was a huge baseball fan, super big baseball fan.
And then we go to the next one, which to me, I don't think this should have happened. I think maybe we should have traded away a player first. And that is the Blues fired Drew Bannister and hired Jim Montgomery. When I think Jim Montgomery was a really good fit for Boston, and I don't think they should have fired him right away. I think they should have traded a player first. But what I really think hurt the team is not signing Swayman earlier. And I think that kind of loomed on them a bit. and they got too many pieces, I think, that they didn't really stick to the Boston players that they usually go for.
So I think Mark Kostelic is your prototypical Boston player, and he's doing what he needs to do over there. I think what happened last year and how well the Bruins did was kind of a little bit shocking to me, because there, wasn't really how do you replace Patrice Bergeron, right? And they tried to do that this year with Elias Lindholm. And nothing wrong with Elias Lindholm. He is one of, under Sasha Barkov in terms of defensive forward. But what I'm noticing is expectations as far as offense is concerned with Lindholm. So he I think he had like 2 really good years, and the rest are in like the 55-ish range, right? And I think that's more what people should be expecting, especially in an advancing stage of his career. Like, he might have had 2 80-point seasons and a 170-point season. Not quite sure exactly. But anyways, you're, targeting more 50 points, 55 points. And if you get that out of him, that's kind of what your average year is for him. And I think people were expecting a lot more from him this year, so putting some of the blame on him. But, he's there as a defensive forward to chip in offensively when he can, even though he's centering the first line, right? Because there aren't too many Sasha Barkovs out there.
Yeah.
That's kind of my take on it. And I think you're absolutely right. Swayman with the late start definitely hurt the team. But, they are a veteran team, so we will see at the end of the year. And also agree with you on Jim Montgomery. You don't exactly have a losing record. It was like 8 and something, right, when he got fired.
Yeah.
And you fired the guy with the winningest record in hockey a couple years ago. I don't know about that one. But
And too, some of the guys didn't want him to go. Like, I know Passa came out and said he loved Jim Montgomery, and it shouldn't have been him that got fired.
Yeah.
So that just tells you too that he was kind of like a player's coach as well.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you still have the respect of your players, like a lot of coaches, they have a shelf life, and then the players stop listening to them, right? And I don't think that's the case with Montgomery. I think the players were still listening. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. I don't think he should have been fired.
And not even a day went by and St. Louis fired Drew Bannister and hired Jim Montgomery. They knew what they were getting right away.
Absolutely. When that opportunity presents itself, you take it, right? So, yeah.
Definitely. And then we got the Red Wings placed Tim Gettinger on waivers. And then Logan Stankoven out day to day. That's really going to hurt his rookie race there, because he's a hell of a player for the Stars.
So the funny thing about Logan Stankoven is he's a smaller guy, right? But they play him mostly on wing, right? When he was with Team Canada, he was a whiz in faceoff. Go look at his stats. I think it's 77% faceoff percentage, right? So you got a guy like that. Like, I don't know. Well, I do know, because Dallas has a stacked team. But on any other team, you're putting that guy on the faceoff dot and letting him take draws, because, I don't know if it's like riding a bike and you'll forget at some point. But I mean, if something that you excel in and you're clearly better than the majority of people out there in the world at something, you let the person do it. But
yeah,
again, who am I? I'm just a guy.
And then last one, Sharks, Barclay Goodrow on IR. And that's a good leadership presence that's going to hurt the Sharks being away too.
Yeah, we spoke about the Sharks a little bit. They're a very confusing team to me. I've had the opportunity to watch quite a bit of them, especially of late. And it's hard for me to read this team for sure. I mean, sure, they scored 7 goals the other day, 8 goals today, but just their play style is just like all over the board. It's like one of those things. Are they trying to play the element of surprise and do things that are just so wrong that the other team is confused by what's happening on the ice, and you know, it's like just yeah. Some of it's not hockey. I'll be honest with you. It's like some of what's happening out there is not hockey. But
No,
again,
it's not.
They're a young team, so.
Got a new member in here, Matthew.
What's up, Matthew?
Thanks for coming in, Matthew. Appreciate it. And then we'll move on to our next slide here. And this is the players we've been watching. So if you haven't been following along, we've been following these 3 Kitchener Ranger players right to they get drafted this year. So the 3 players we're following is the defenseman Cameron Reed, who played 24 games so far. He has 4 goals, 17 assists for 21 points. Then we have Luca Romano, the center, played 23 games, 13 goals, 12 assists for 25 points. And then Tanner Lamb, who played 24 games, 4 goals, and 16 assists for 20 points. And I know we were talking, you have a story or something about Cameron Reed.
Well, not so much a story. I'm somewhat familiar with Cameron Reed, and he's a very, very polarizing player among the potential draftees this coming season, right? So I think a lot of people, he can go as high as mid first round, but he can also fall in some scouts' minds like somewhere in the 3rd round, right? So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting. Like I think he's done enough so far. Although you didn't hear his name come up much during the CHL US, the 2-game tourney there. But the one thing and the funniest thing I've heard about Cameron Reed, okay, here's my story, right, is that he's a fast player, right, but his skating is a little weird. Like, so I think it's like his mechanics stuff. And one scout was telling me he's like, sometimes he can skate and it looks like he has a fridge on his back. So yeah.
Definitely. So he's going to be in AHL conditioning for a little while, I think.
Yeah. So again, a lot of people like his potential to even put him up as high as mid first round, so somewhere around 12, and others just have him right like into the 3rd round. So we'll see with him. And who are the other 2?
Luca Romano and Tanner Lamb.
Okay, both 17-year-olds. I think Tanner Lamb is kind of on the small side, probably 5'8" if I remember correctly. And yeah, Romano, he could reach 6 feet tall. I think he's 5'11" right now. So yeah, they're both of them are, I think you're saying, are both kind of up there top 5 or 6 in team scoring right now. Right.
So I see them maybe being late first, like you said, early to mid 3rd rounds, maybe even 4th round for some.
Yeah, the small guys are tricky, and how teams will evaluate them, right? So, like, 5'8", it's kind of small, but at the same time, in today's day and age, that's not the end of the world, right? So
yeah. So these are the Rangers that we'll be following, and we'll be talking more about them tomorrow too, as well.
So before we go on to the next stage, I got some questions for you, Dan.
All right.
So, obviously, you are a fan of the Kitchener Rangers, right?
Yes, sir.
And you've been following them for quite some time, right?
Just started this year, actually.
Oh, this year, okay. Because I was going to say, what is the life of someone who's a fan of a CHL team? And I ask this because, sure, there's turnover on NHL rosters every year, but there's pretty significant turnover every 3 years with, CHL teams. So a lot of times you have guys that are really young that, you get really young and you nurture them and they become really good players. And then you either lose them to the draft in NHL, or your team's a middling team and then you just trade that star young player for draft capital, right? And a good example would be Carson Rickoff with Kitchener. Where did he end up? Oh, where'd Rickoff go? Brampton Battalion?
Yeah, I think didn't he get drafted by, I don't know who.
No, he was a Kitchener Ranger. He was a Kitchener Ranger.
Yeah.
He had 2 developmental years and then a 95-point year season last year. And then they just traded him for like a pile of second rounders before the start of the season, right? So,
Yeah, so like probably like as a CHL fan, I guess coming from Halifax, which is close to me. So like seeing the McKinnons, the Ehlers, the Drouins and stuff like that. I think the biggest thing is you're always looking at the next one coming up. You can't get attached to them because you know they're either going to go or they're going to be traded to help build the future. So like if you don't make the cup, say in 3 years with those players, you're going to be starting looking at the next up mentality, I guess is what we would call it.
right.
So you're going to be looking at who's going to be the next one to take the reins. And I think with the CHL, there's a lot of those players coming up. So you're always looking, probably around year 2, you're always looking down to see or who they drafted. Is this kid going to be good? So you're going to be typing in, what do I know about this kid? I think you just got to go with the next man up mentality. You enjoy the ride while you can. Like I know the Mooseheads, when they had that McKinnon, Drouin, Ehlers, I enjoyed that ride because that's a once in a lifetime ride. Like they led you and they won everything. So like it's being a CHL fan is a lot different than being an NHL fan because you're rebuilding every second year.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So someone who's a fan of a CHL team, and I think we already got your answer, but like I feel if I got attached to say my Frontenacs, for example, which I'm not, like I'd find it really tough, right? It just be like gut wrenching and like heartbreaking, like every couple years, right? And it's like
Yeah, no, definitely. And then so now before we go on to the next one, we just got to go over the top 5 this week for fantasy hockey that I'm in. We have Deep Diggers, who's leading in at first. We have Now I Got Krebs at second. We got Ham's Panthers Hockey Club in at third. We got Slap Nuts in at fourth. And we have Julie Farnham, the Land Kraken, sitting in at fifth. So that's updating as of today, Friday. So
hey,
congrats.
Julie, if you needed some help with your fantasy hockey, just let me know.
She was sitting at 10th and jumped up to 5th. So
there we go.
She's been on a roll lately. So look
go,
out,
Julie,
people.
go.
All right. So now we go on to the best part of the show. And I know everyone's dying for this one. And this is our guest spotlight. So we just want to take a quick thing. And I want to ask you a couple questions.
Right. Sounds good.
So I guess the first one to ask everyone, of past and present, who would be your Mount Rushmore for Montreal Canadiens?
There's a lot of good names. But I don't think mine is going to be very different from a lot of names that we end up hearing when we talk about the Habs in terms of Mount Rushmore. So obviously Maurice Richard. Obviously, you have to have Maurice Richard. You got to have Jean Beliveau. You know, the city loved him so much, right? Guy Lafleur, right? I love goals, and hopefully Cole Caulfield is gonna score 50 goals for us at some point. But when we talk about goal scorers, Guy Lafleur is right there. And the funny thing is, like, I just love the thought of Guy Lafleur doing what he did and just smoking in between periods like a chimney. So it's like times were very different. And this is going to be the controversial one, because this player actually disliked the Habs growing up, and he was a Quebec Nordique fan. But like I said, when I think goalies and when I think Habs, it's Patrick Roy. So, like, sorry Dryden, sorry Plant, sorry Price, sorry Mr. Propicia, Jose Theodore, right? But I'm gonna put Patrick Roy up there, and that's part of it. It's because that's part of my growing up and my memories as a kid, right? So it's like, how do I not put Patrick Roy up there?
So you're the third guest with a goalie on their Mount Rushmore. So congrats on that.
Yeah, I mean, just like so many other names, apart from like Big Bird, Larry Robinson, like oops, sorry, yeah, it's just yeah.
All right. So next question is, what got you started on YouTube?
What got me started on YouTube? So, as a kid, I collected tons of baseball cards. So I collected baseball cards, and during the pandemic, my son started collecting basketball cards, and that kind of reignited my interest in sports cards and trading cards in general. Then I started to find myself ripping a bunch of hockey product, right? And I'm like, hey, maybe I should record some of this in case I get like a big hit or something. And one of my coworkers actually encouraged me. He's like, you know what? Just go and create a channel, go and do it, see what happens, right? And that's where it all started. So when you look at my early videos compared to where we are today, and let me go back a second and say it was also a way to bring my wife into the hobby as well. So she edits my videos. So yeah, shout out to the editor. Thank you so much. So all the editing is done by my wife, and so when we look back at the early days, how uncomfortable I was in front of the camera, and also keep in mind, I had never seen a lot of this product before. It's like the first time I've ever seen ice, or the first time I've ever seen SP Authentic, and I kind of purposely didn't do a lot of research on these products because I wanted to be surprised by it, right? I didn't want to go in thinking like, okay, these are the chase stuff that, I wanted to kind of appreciate the card, right? So
Yeah.
even if it was like a more, like I said early on, like, oh, this is a common insert, I didn't want to get jaded by that. If I got a pretty card, I wanted to look at the card and go, you know what, this is a pretty card, right? So I have gotten away from that a little bit. That that genuine curiosity and like, oh, this is new type thing, because now that I've been in a couple years, we're starting to cycle through the products over and over again. So I'm kind of know what to expect now. But
Awesome.
it's still fun.
And I've been watching your channel, and we've been in on breaks for Rip 'em All's channel as well. And you rip a lot of really nice stuff, and you're not like one of the people who want to chase after like the big one. You enjoy every little insert, I find, and every little thing.
So I try. I do try. And sometimes you do get caught, and I'll have to admit that this does happen to myself as well, right? Because let's make no bones about it, the hobby is super expensive, right? The prices are just mind-blowingly wild.
Yeah.
So, sometimes you forget to appreciate players because there's some really good players out there, and your box hit is that said player. But as far as hobby goes and value goes, you don't feel like you got a fair return for what you paid for in the box. And I think I'll give case in point to a Dougie Hamilton Booklet 101 printing plate that I got from the Cup. Now, that would have been my big hit, and I was somewhat disappointed, just going, oh, Dougie Hamilton. Great hockey player, dealing with injuries and stuff like that. But that's not the name you want to see in terms of hobby value, right? And I do kind of feel bad about doing stuff like that because that's not my intention, or like I want to appreciate things. But it's finding that balance between, hey, I paid X amount of dollars for a box. Did I get, a reasonable return?
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with people and close your ears, hobby shops and LCSs out there, right? I think from my experience, right, you're looking at a 30% return on your box. So if you go out and buy a hobby box, kind of expect it. Don't it's great if you hit something big. That's not always the case. You're more likely not to have the case hit or a monster hit. But if you go in buying a hobby box and are okay with like a 30% return and just enjoy ripping the box open and appreciating what you get, I think you'll be better off that way. Because I think if you go in it trying with the expectation that you're going to have this massive hit, you'll be disappointed more often than not. So
yeah, and I think it's like a lot of like setting you up for failure if you think you're going to get a massive hit every time.
Absolutely, yeah. So go in and appreciate the rip. Take your time with it, and just enjoy the product.
I'm always happy, even if I rip just a player of my PC. Like, even if it's a base card, hey, I got my PC player. Like, let's go.
Yeah, and then it's worth it for you, and then you don't feel bad about spending whatever you did on a box of cards, right? So the last thing, like, I want for anybody in the hobby is to feel bad about a purchase, right? Like that sucks. And I get it because sometimes I feel it too, right? But yeah.
And CCB says, I go into hobby box for fun. Never expect to make money. In fact, I never sell cards. Much rather trade with the card community.
Yeah, and that's awesome, CCB. And I think I still have a Matthew. Is this from CCB from Rip's channel? I think I still might have
Canadian Card Breakers.
Yeah, I think I still have a Matthew Nice OPG paper for you. It's got your name on it. So, yeah.
Definitely. And I mean, we have such a great community as a card community. Like, everyone's always helping each other. I know, like, Julie, to drop names, is probably one of the best people to help another person if it's someone they collect. Like, she'll be say, I'm sending you something, and next thing you know, you get a box yay big, and it's full of all the guys that you collect and stuff. And it's like cards that, like, myself, I couldn't afford, but she's bought in a break and bought it for me, or like got that team, and it's like, I don't collect this, so here, send it to you. Like, I think Julie Farm doesn't get enough appreciation for all that she does for everybody.
Absolutely. Julie is something special. I've had the opportunity to text chat with her in the past, and I think I picked up right away on what a special person Julie is. So shout out to Julie.
Definitely. Shout out to Julie Farnham. I know she'll probably come in here at some point. So, Julie, when you watch this, you got a well-deserved shout out for everybody here.
Yeah,
but no,
yeah, and then again, and shout out to everyone out there in the card community. Like, for the most part, not all, but like 99% of my interactions with people in the community have been just fantastic. So it's a great community, especially Rip's kind of little group of folks, and they're awesome. So
and everybody helps everybody, and that's what I love about it. But I know we were talking throughout the weekend. You got something special you want to rip tonight.
oh yeah, so I am a card ripping channel, so I kind of feel the need and the itch. I've also got the itch, so I have this kind of sitting around, nothing that special. It's 22-23 Parker's Hobby. So what's expecting here? Theoretically, we're going to get a bunch of parallels. We're going to get one legend in here. And we may get an auto, or we may get a mem card, right? So,
Nice.
So speaking about products that your mem card could be your box hit, this is a kind of on the lower end, so I got no problem with that, right? But then when you start talking about 23-24 products, and like ice, for example, and your box hit can be a mem card, like that is just disgusting. Like Upper Deck should be ashamed of themselves for that. Yeah, just don't do that to people.
Something I noticed too, and I'm sure everyone and even yourself can. I've noticed, like, since they started mass producing everything, the quality of everything has gone down a little bit too. Like, even the quality control, and like I said with that McDavid card that you got.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if it's from them rushing to get stuff done.
Yeah, so I don't know about that. So OPG Platinum, my first experience ever with OPG Platinum was 21-22. And I heard so many good things about the product. People love OPG Platinum, right? And I ripped a box of the stuff, and like cards are off center, there's scratches all over these things, right? Like you look at the pictures and the photos, and they're all like kind of grainy, like, so like the quality on those things were like so bad. 21-22, terrible. And then on top of that, like, I don't sell a lot of cards. I'm kind of hoard a lot of things myself, but I found that, like, if everyone says they love this product, how come I can't sell a single one of these cards? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was a kind of weird one, and that's tainted my appreciation for OPG Platinum, because I've seen some people's collections and they're fantastic and fabulous, right? But I just kind of have a sour taste in my mouth about OPG Platinum that I can't get over. And even though I bought a case of 23-24, still.
No, I like the old OPG Platinum, or just the OPG, I guess you should say. I just love the OPG. Like, it reminds me of me and my dad ripping, like the cardboard backs and everything like that.
Yeah. So yeah, OPG paper was one of my favorites, and I was able to get in on the 23-24 before the price jump on those products. So it's like well under $100 a box, and then now they're at 2 something. Excuse me, which is just insane. And I have a series on my channel of me ripping that case, and we did fairly well with it. We got an out of 49 Bedard. We got multiple Connor Bedards. So, yeah, no, that was a successful case for sure.
And I think too, my biggest thing for cards is I don't know why the ups. I know you're getting a great player in Bedard, but like I don't know why you're upcharging. So like, what about Macklin Celebrini? They're not going to upcharge for that, and he was a number first pick. And to me, I think Macklin Celebrini is way better than Bedard.
Ooh, wow, that's a bold statement. I mean, Celebrini is absolutely looking good for sure. Yeah, I think it all depends on the profit margin. So we also got to remember that our local hobby shops they do have to make some money on the product, right? So it's more of a question: is the inflation on the distributor side, or is it on the hobby shop side? And they have just really ginormous profit margins on these things, because if that's what it is, then you're taking advantage of people. But if they're kind of forced into it, then it's hard to blame them as well, right?
So, like, you probably haven't been here, but I do not like Bedard. He is not my favorite player. I do not like him at all. I love Macklin Celebrini because he reminds me so much of Jonathan Taves, and I see it in him, where he's going to be such a great two-way player and such a great leader for the San Jose. And Bedard, he reminds me of a Zegras, and he's going to fall off because he's too flashy, and it's going to get himself hurt one of these days. He's just going to do it to a wrong team like a Tom Wilson, and he is going to plow him over, and he's going to lose maybe 2 years like Crosby did with a concussion.
Okay, so there's two things. Okay, so on the Bedard side, right? I think he's going to be a very good NHL player. Like, superstar. He's got that potential, right? The thing is, right now, as far as hobby goes, I cannot hold any Bedard cards. I sell them as soon as I can. I mean, just because like some of the stuff, his stuff is outselling like McDavid rookie stuff. So you're telling me this kid has to go out there and score multiple 155-point seasons to have that same value as McDavid, which it's not an easy task to do. So it's a lot of it is the hype train, 100% is the hype train. But one of the funny things about Bedard, and we were talking about his playing, is I was talking to a coach last year about Bedard, and he goes, "Well, Bedard's got a problem, right?" And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" Right? And he didn't say a word, but he did this to me. He did this to me. Right? And I'm like, what the heck is he talking about? And he goes, you watch enough of him, you'll understand what I mean. So if you watch enough of Bedard, when he sets up for a shot, he actually kind of does a little quick blink, a wince almost, right? And sure enough, a few days after he did that, Connor Bedard, had one of those shots and got leveled and broke his jaw, right? So I'm like, that's either really good timing or you knew this was coming all along, right? So it was very interesting, right? So,
but no, like I said, I love Macklin Celebrini. I absolutely love the kid, and he reminds me so much of Jonathan Taves, who's one of my favorite players and a leader as a captain. Captain Series was such a good name for him because he played the game so well two-way that I'm hopefully he can come back because I love Jonathan Taves.
yeah, absolutely. Like, so Taves sacrificed, in my opinion, Taves really sacrificed a lot of personal numbers in the NHL to play the game properly and to be a good pro, to be a good captain, and to play that defensively responsible game, because like he is a phenomenal goal scorer. So there's no doubt in my mind, if he really wanted to shirk some of those defensive responsibilities, he could have been a 40-goal player every single year. Like, I am convinced that Taves would have been a 40-goal scorer every single year on a different team that, didn't want to play, the system the way that Chicago was playing. But he bought into it, and they got cups for it, right? So, again, proof is in the pudding.
That's what I think you're going to see with Celebrini. Once he gets a little bit growing into his body and they get the right players and coaching staff around him, I think you're going to see the next Jonathan Toews. But to me, and I've said this before, and I don't think Bedard's a generational talent. He's a talent, yes, but he's not a Crosby. He's not a McDavid. He's not a McKinnon. There's not going to be another generational talent for a little bit. Bedard is a
2 years.
2-year who?
Gavin McKenna. I am
yes.
sold. I am sold on Gavin McKenna.
But Bedard's good, and I'll give him that. But he's an elite, but he's not a generational talent. He's like Macklin Celebrini. He's going to be elite. He's not a generational talent, but he's going to be elite. And
So, okay. I'm not going to repeat the story that I told you off camera. But the story I told you off camera, that was Macklin Celebrini, by the way.
Yeah. So, I mean, and we both discussed that. Like, he learned from it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be big for him. It's another development in his mind.
Yeah. And I think what's going to separate a lot of these players with talent, and let's, not kid ourselves, every single player that steps on the ice in the NHL is better than 99.99999% of people in the world playing hockey, right? Like, even if we consider them, they're a bad player, they're still better than most people in the world. But having said that, a lot of what differentiates and what builds a long career is how to be a pro, right? And if these young guys can learn how to be pros, they will have long careers.
Yeah.
Right. So, and like you were saying, Celebrini is definitely demonstrating a lot of that right now. So, plus he's killer in the slot. Oh my goodness.
Yes. And then just one more thing before we get off on the topic. I knew something was fishy when Bedard got drafted because they brought in a lot of these veteran players for him. And I know off the ice, I've heard he's not so great in the locker room. And that's kind of brings me to the point, like, why did Chicago bring in all these vets for him? If it's something, there has to be something to do with the attitude. And that's where I think he really needs to grow up.
Yeah, you know what? I try not to listen to that kind of stuff, and I'm about to throw something of my own in here, because I'm not sure how much I would buy into that sentiment. Only because if that is something you're concerned about, then you do not bring a Taylor Hall on your team, right? So that's why I'm like, maybe not. I mean, sure, the Flingos of the world, yes, sure. But if you were concerned about that type of behavior, like, you probably shouldn't bring Taylor Hall onto the team. So,
but I mean, too, all of Taylor Hall's years are pretty much behind him now. His last best year was in New Jersey.
Yeah, Hart Trophy, right? So,
yeah, and the biggest thing with Taylor Hall is he can't stay healthy. I mean, look at Nugent Hopkins. He is the most underrated NHL player for Edmonton. He's been so just steady. He's just a steady player.
yeah, I mean, he's, cracked the century mark. So, yeah, it's one of those players that, hit 100 points and they still don't get a lot of love. Again, overshadowed by McDavid and Draisaitl over there, but.
And then my favorite player, who I'm wearing number 14 for, Jordan Eberle. I love Jordan Eberle. He is hands down my favorite player. He's one of those guys that just plays the game right.
And fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a fast guy. Yeah. Hey,
and
so, go ahead.
Well overdue of being the captain of the Kraken. But yeah, let's get into some ripping.
Okay, yeah, I was about to say. I'm sure folks are anxious. So, I mean, there are quite a few. There's 20 packs in here, so I'm gonna just kind of go through it quickly so I don't bore everyone to death. Unless you want to see base cards. Who wants to see base cards, or who just wants to see hits? Let me know. You tell me what to do, and I'll do it.
John says, "Rip them all."
Rip them
You got
all.
all kinds of time.
All right.
Barry says you must rip it all.
Rip it all. Okay.
I love base sets, John says.
All right. Well, that's okay. So, I am hoping for a patch auto. I would love to get a patch auto out of this, just because patch autos in this product are beautiful. But like I said, we'll just be happy with what we get, right? So, pack number 1. I'm gonna have to go. Let me know if you can see this. So we got Kyle Connor. We got Willie Nylander. We got Sean Couturier. And
Have a good night, Robert.
This is a silver parallel.
Oh, nice.
And we got a gold rainbow of rookie Jack LaFontaine. So that's going to be a very shiny card. So there's one gold rainbow per box. So we've already come across it. And Josh Bailey. We got Turbo Teravainen. We got Matt Duchene having a crazy year over in Dallas. Like, where did that come from? And Chandler Stevenson. All right. So, are you also a Kraken fan, or just an
Just an Eberle fan?
Just an Eberle fan. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so we're starting off with a Nikita Kochek rookie. And if I miss my legend, let me know, but I don't think I will. So another rookie here, Brandon Bureau. We got a silver of Alex DeBrincat. And, I don't like it when players really want to kind of force themselves off a team. So I'm very upset that DeBrincat forced Ottawa's hand on that. I did not appreciate that. Oh, we got Parkies of Ovi.
Nice.
Yeah, terrible that he got injured. Because I think it's inevitable he's going to break Gretzky's record, right? But what I didn't want to happen was for him to go and score 10, 15 goals over the course of 3 to 4 seasons. I wanted to see him do it all in one shot, and it would feel more like it's, more deserved. Even though like his entire career he's led up to this, sure. But I didn't want him to drag out, his career just to beat the record type of idea, right?
Yeah. So,
Shesterkin.
Igor. Playing terrible right now.
He only let him go 2 goals today. That's not his fault. 2-1 loss. That's not his fault. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether or not they re-sign him or they go a different direction. So Klingberg. Okay. Leaf fans who really pooped on Klingberg last season. He did not deserve the hate that he got. Underlying defensive metrics, you hear a lot of bad things, but I'll tell you, he was actually a really good puck possession, and you can't blame him for a lot of things. Sure, were some of the things ugly and glaring? Yes, absolutely. But for the most part, he was a solid player. So, please forgive John Klingberg, Leaf fans. He didn't deserve all the hate that he got. One of my favorite ex-Habs, Philip Deneau.
Oh, face-off wizard, too.
Yeah. I didn't appreciate him enough when he was with the Habs. And I was kind of surprised by a 4.25 AAV at the time. But then when he left, I'm like, ooh, we let him get away. And then Pavel Buchnevich.
One that the Rangers let get away. Same with Zuccarello. Yeah. Huge Zuccarello fan when he was with the Rangers.
The Hobbit. That's an interesting nickname. Okay, so we got a Seth Jarvis and an Adam Raska to go with a see. Whenever I pull this guy, like it hits me in the feels.
Yep.
So
Rest in peace, Goudreau's.
yeah, Johnny Gaudreau. So they have him here in the Flames jersey, but if we look on the back of the card, it actually shows the Blue Jackets logo. Oh, interesting. Then we have a color variation of Jacob Chikrin, who eats hearts. Is true story. The dude eats hearts.
Weird.
Yeah. Hey, whatever he does to prepare himself for games in the season, yes. You know what? I don't know.
I wonder if it stemmed down from his dad when his dad played.
Yeah, no idea. So Dougie Hamilton. Speaking of Dougie Hamilton from before, and to the person that was telling me like I poo-pooed on Dougie Hamilton, when ripping the cup, know that I was a very strong proponent of Dougie Hamilton in the draft. So much so that, I let some people know that Mark Scheifele was not the best pick for Winnipeg at the time. And, again, Couturier and Hamilton both have had long careers, but Scheifele is, what can you say? He's part of Winnipeg, right?
Yeah.
So, JG Pajot, Nick Schmaltz, and Ryan Hartman. So I'm just curious to see who the legend's going to be and what the hit's going to be. Like, so many things can happen. So many things can happen here. Okay, so Matty Chucker. We got Jordan Harris. Then we're going with a silver of Victor Olofsson. Where's Olofsson now? Vegas?
Vegas, yeah, dude. Or is he Colorado?
Ooh, yeah. Anyone in chat know? For some reason, it's escaping me.
Think Colorado, I think. I don't think he's in Vegas.
Okay, Kuzmenko rookie. Then we got Anders Lee. Some of these New York Islanders guys don't get any love at all, but they've carved themselves out some pretty solid careers, right?
Yeah, like Brock Nelson.
Yeah. Jacob Markstrom, Evan Bouchard, and Tiny Torrey Krug. All right. Up next, who we got here? Jacob Galvis. Don't know where he is right now. Philip Hollander. We got a silver of Matthew Checker. So we got the base and the silver parallel of it. And who do we got here? This is Matt Boldy. Oh, sweet.
Nice.
A Matt Boldy Parkey. That's a nice one. Rookie of Boldy. Very cool. Would have been awesome if that was an auto. We got Alexander Barabanov. So he's in Vegas, right? Barabanov's in Vegas, and he's doing all kinds of odd stuff there. Yeah, good on him. Oh, dude, where's my car? Speaking of Sean Couturier, there he is. And Jake DeBrusk. And, maybe some of Boston's problems are he's no longer on the team.
Yeah, maybe. But it all can be fixed with Philadelphia Kessel.
So, again, if you guys want me to speed this up, you let me know. If we're going at a decent pace for everybody, we'll keep doing this. Y'all let Dan know.
No, they all keep going.
Yep, Parkies are awesome. Parkies are awesome, for sure. All right, Caden Korczak. Then we got, base Johnny Gaudreau. Yep. Silver Darnell Nurse. Okay, let's pause at Darnell Nurse for a second and have some hockey talk. Okay. Revo took off this guy's head. His neck didn't look right after getting that hit. What are your thoughts on that hit?
Suspension.
You think it's a suspension?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do, because if you look at the hit that they did to Nice, that was suspended hit.
Okay.
And that didn't look nearly as bad as what because from at like a coaching point, Reeves had it in his mind he was not stopping. He was going right through. It was almost like a charging.
Okay.
And he could have avoided it, but he didn't.
Okay. So yeah, I was not a good hit at all. And I do think it was a predatory hit for sure. But and not to victim blame or anything like that, Nurse did have Nurse's head was down, right? So you got to be a little bit more alert. And a lot of players aren't expecting that coming around the net these days, right? But if you look at Colby Armstrong, for example, he was one dude that was just waiting for that play to happen, right? And yeah, he did get suspended for some of those things, but at the same time, people that were on the ice with Armstrong knew to watch out for that kind of thing, right? So
yeah. And I mean, players nowadays are taught never to skate with their head down. Head's always up. So that is the blame on Nurse as well there, because he should have had his heads up. Yeah.
But again, it was a predatory hit, and like if you actually watch play, like he actually just came out of nowhere and just kind of, skated like me, choppy up and down the ice and straight into him. But yeah. All right. So enough of that. Sorry to derail the rip here. I just had to talk about that for a second. So we got a really cool rainbow of Timo Meier. And
saw him play for the Mooseheads.
Okay. And he was a tough guy, right? So he would have thrown some monster hits too. So I do know a Timo Meier fan who does want that card. So Sam Girard, Andrei Sveshnikov. Yeah, hey, UC Saros. Speaking of Saros,
there we go.
And getting a lot of hate from the owner of this channel is Mika Zibanejad.
Actually, I'll be the first Rangers person to tell you I do not like Mika Zibanejad. I would trade him the first chance I get. I see Vincent Trocheck as our number one center.
So Trocheck, who's forever been a fantasy darling, who, if you're playing in a pool that has multiple categories, Trocheck fills up pretty much every single box there is. But yeah. So love Trocheck.
And Trocheck, if you look back to last year, was number 2 in faceoffs wins behind Crosby.
Yeah. So he's traditionally gonna be high in faceoffs, contributes power play points. He hits a lot. Even though he's not a big guy, he does generate quite a few hits. So like he's like a fantasy stat stuffer. Like if you're playing multiple categories, like I generally tend to target him, a lot higher than most people would. But.
Yeah.
All right, on to the next pack here. Who do we have? So Alex Vlasic. We got a Braden Shen. We got a die cut coming up here. So we got a base Alex Vlasic in this pack, and then we also got a silver parallel of him.
Nice.
And who's this here? So Tomorrow's Riches, Alex Turcotte. So a little bit about this card. In general, As a collector, I found that I do not like die-cut cards. I like rectangular cards. I do not like plastic meeting cardboard type of cards. But for some reason, this is actually my favorite card in the set. I just like it for whatever reason. I don't know. And yeah, Alex Turcotte finally showing up. Took him a little while, but you know. And then we got Matt Barzal, another guy who doesn't get enough love in the hobby, I think.
Yeah, who would be an all-star on any team.
Yeah, a team that has, like a stronger fan base for sure. Jack Roslovich, Dominic Kubalik, and this dude having a hell of a season, Brandon Hagel.
And might I say, like, what a pickup for Tampa Bay from Chicago he was.
Yes. Yeah.
But I mean, like, as a coach, too, John Cooper really knows how to handle that team.
Except explain Tanner Chanel.
Yeah. That was not a great fit.
I agree. Yeah. Mitchell Chaffee. Gabriel Landeskog. And we got here, a silver rookie of Shane Wright.
Nice.
Well, that's cool. What do we got here? Samuel Poulin. Got a Boone Jenner. Jake Gunsel. He does have some hobby love because he played with Crosby and stuff like that. But I think he's one of those guys where he's underappreciated a little bit because you thought, like, oh, it's because of Crosby that he did what he did type of thing. But I think he's actually showing that, no, a lot of it was him as well. TJ Oshie and Alex DeBrincat. All right, who we got here? Patrice Bergeron. Like I miss Bergeron so much. Like it was a treat to watch Bergeron play hockey. And again, this is coming from a Habs fan, but you got to appreciate greatness when you see it. And he played hockey the right way, and he was good on and off the ice.
Yeah.
Riley Walsh. Jordan Harris, silver rookie. So a lot of our silver cards are turning out to be rookies. So hopefully that continues. That. Ooh. Whoa.
Oh, nice.
So our numbered card here is an Igor Shesterkin red, numbered to 51.
That is nice.
All right. Yeah, that is a beauty of a card. I like that. Patrick Kane. Then we got Shaq Hyman, who, okay, I know he's injured now, but he's been really disappointing this season. So when he comes back from injury, he better pick it up.
So talking about Igor, actually, this was sent to me by Julie that she got in a break, and that is the Credentials Provisions. The artist card.
That is cool.
Oh,
very nice. Tough hit. Tough pull.
Yeah, so she actually got it in a break and sent it.
Yeah, beauty. Yeah, Shesterkin.
So that was really nice of her.
So, fun fact, I was on Shesterkin before he was a prospect in many's minds, just so we all know this. Like, just so we all know. Like, we're talking 16. This is not a lie. This is truth.
I was watching his highlights from when he was over in Russia or that league there. And I knew when I was watching him, I knew as soon as he got to the NHL, he was going to be one of those like really good goalies.
Yeah. Think of the youngest KHL goalie ever, right? So, Shea Theodore and the Spurgeon General.
Hey, DK, thanks for coming, buddy.
So we got our number card. We got our gold. So now what's left in this box that we're looking for is either an auto or a mem and a legend. So we still haven't come across our legend yet. So Trafix Wolansky. We got Neon Leon. We got a silver Martin Nietzsche's. Picked a hell of a year to have a career year, right?
That it did.
Joe Pavelski, and this is it should be a rainbow, but for whatever reason it does not say rainbow on the back. But yeah,
He was probably one of the best at tipping the puck out front of the net.
so Pavelski and Thornton, and you kept hearing about San Jose's window closing for years and years and years, and they just, fantastic regular season team and just couldn't come through in the playoffs, right? So, yeah. But, they got Celebrini now, so, hopefully they could work their way back up into the standings in a couple years, and we'll see what they can do. But, yeah, it's just a shame that group never won themselves a cup, because they had some really good teams for sure.
Yeah, they really did.
Kirby, what's up, Doc? Ovi. Speaking of Darnell Nurse again, there he is. And speaking of Jonathan Toews, hey,
Nice.
there we go. All right, so then we have here Charlie McAvoy. We got Moritz Sider. We got a silver of Jake DeBrusk. What do we have here? This is a wire image of Miro Heiskanen.
Nice. I love the black and white.
Yeah. So, like you were saying, yeah, you think he's going to anchor that Finnish team?
Yeah, he's going to be the solid piece there.
Charlie Coyle. I feel like we're getting a lot of Boston players. Hey, Miro Heiskanen again. Kevin Hayes and Kyle Okposo.
Nice. So IGH had a question for you.
Absolutely, go ahead.
He said, "What's the biggest hit you've ever pulled?"
What's the biggest hit I've ever pulled? Well, it's hard. It's like, what do we want to define as the biggest hit? As a personal hit, it was a 1-on-1 Cole Caulfield in stature, and that's in my PC and it's not moving. And I think the reason why I say it's is my biggest hit is because I do have someone in Montreal who wants to pay me $8,000 for that card, and I am not moving it. I should move it for $8,000. People in the hobby tell me you're crazy, sell that card, but it's that card isn't about money to me, right? Like it's one of my first really big hits, so that way it's special to me. It's also a player that I PC, so that's why it's also special to me. So, yeah. I know. I get what people are saying, and like, oh, sell it. But sometimes there's more to it than money, right? And one of my other bigger hits came from the Cup, and it was a day with the Cup. Sidney Crosby and Mario Lemieux, and that is a pretty big card, like multiple thousands, right? But I think the value was more than the card on that one, because the person that I sold it to, JC Filthy Cards, Justin, has actually become a good friend of mine. So whenever there's the expo, I spend 95% of my time with Justin at the expos. And so to me, like that friendship was worth a lot more to me than the card itself. So
Awesome. See, like for me, I haven't pulled any like super big hits, but it was pulling my first auto and it came out of a basketball blaster. And it's like a no name person, but it's still like your first auto. So that was like the biggest hit for me.
right, yeah, and yeah, and again, I've pulled multiple Bedards on my channel as well, so you know, and I sell them as quick as I can, but so yeah. I have a surprising amount of one-on-ones on my channel, and I think I just get really lucky. I do rip a lot of product, um, and I do have a backlog in videos because my wife and I can only release 2 videos a week, and I sometimes rip more than that. But I will let people know that we don't actually cherry pick like good videos, bad videos. We put them in sequential order type of thing, right? So if I got 2 boxes of something and the second box had a really big hit, we wouldn't do that one first to get more views. We would do that first box that we ripped, right?
Yeah, this is the ongoing thing. They love teasing me with Bedards.
Yeah. 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 So someone said, "Dan, maybe one day you'll pull a Bedard auto." I hope so. I
I
hope
hope
so.
not.
What?
I hope not.
All right. So Rasmus Dahlin. Then we got a Frederick Anderson, a silver Seth Jarvis, not non-rookie. Ooh, we got a Parky of Paul Coffey.
Oh,
Paul
nice.
Coffey, right? And this one's actually special because it is a wrapper back, a harder pull than a blank back. The majority of
Oh,
these
wow.
Parkies are blank backs, but then you also have wrapper backs, and this is one of them here. So
That
cool.
is nice.
So if you've never seen one, now you have.
I know Zach just said something about TTM. I actually sent a TTM out to one of my PC players who I absolutely love, and that's Alex Brie-Boulet.
Alex Barré-Boulet. Who PCs Alex Barré-Boulet?
This guy right here, I have a huge PC collection of him.
Oh, hey, you find me on Instagram, message me. Tom Wilson. So find me, BuilderBu Rips on Instagram, Alex Barré-Boulet PC, and I'll see if I have something for you.
All right.
Chances are I might. Brock Nelson. We got a Patrick Laine. So he should be back soon. He's skating with this non-contact jersey off now, right? So
Yeah, I think he's traveling with the team right now. So
yeah, so it's just a matter of days. Jeff Carter. Okay, so it looks like we got about 8 packs left. So, ooh, this pack feels juicy. I don't know what it is about this pack. It just feels juicy.
just to let you know, you have big shoes to fill because the last 2 guests who have ripped something have pulled something amazing. Like one guest pulled the Krill Kaprizov Young Gun.
Yeah, I know. And
So
out of a blaster, right? Yeah,
yeah,
good. Funny thing is, I have a whole bunch of earlier videos that I did when I first came back to hobby chasing Kirill Kaprizov Young Guns, and a lot of those boxes I've never released, and I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to do that because there's quite a few boxes. And never pulled a Kaprizov Young Guns, and someone pulled it out of a blaster. Crazy.
and there's a retail one too.
Yeah. So I don't think this is going to be an auto because it's not a super thick card. So I think we got memmed. But let's hope for something nice. So Jonathan Huberto, Mark Kostelik. Speaking of someone who belongs in a Bruins uniform, and he's the prototypical Bruiner flyer for sure. So you're going to actually see it before me, and I think it's going to come up next. We have a silver Buck Connor Hellebuck. What a crazy nickname. Who? Buck. Jeez. Okay. So what is this? Is this good or bad? You guys tell me. I can't see
wow. Troy Terry.
Troy Terry. So underappreciated Anaheim player. Okay, so this is what I call getting memmed, right? So in a box that your hit's gonna either be a memorabilia card or an auto. We got the memorabilia card, but again, this is a nice looking card. It's not numbered, but the price of this box, especially getting it on sale like under $100, you know, I know $100 is still a lot. Don't get me wrong, but compared to other products like ice, if you're paying whatever it is they're asking for, I'm okay with this. Plus, we still got that legend, right? And maybe the legend will be a nice one. So, Adam Fox. Someone said hello, Dan and friends, and I don't know who that is, but hello.
Yeah, Dr. Mantis, one of the YouTubers who's very doesn't get enough love. He opens a ton of football, and he's been pulling a lot of great stuff on his channel.
Oh, cool. What's up, Dr. Mantis? We've got a Kuznetsov.
The Eagle.
So really, I'll be surprised if we have anything else in this box, because I think we got our numbered card. I think the rest is pretty much just going to be base stuff other than our legend. We should be getting one legend. All right, Dawson Mercer. We got Mark Stone, Ottawa legend.
Mr. LTIR himself.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh. Carey Price.
Ooh, there you go.
I like that one. We got a color variant here of Heiskanen. So his theme of the day is Heiskanen.
And here we have Julie Farnham, who's blessed us with her presence.
Julie, what's going on, Julie?
Julie, you'll have to rewatch. We said a whole bunch of nice things about you.
So yeah, Julia, are your ears burning because we've summoned you a few times on today's stream? All good things, though. All good things. We have nothing but good things to say about Julie Farnham. She's aces, everyone. And you all know that already. I don't need to tell you that. Jared McCann. We got an Andrew Kopp. Braden Holtby. And a Riley Smith. So what is left hiding in here? You know, it'd be cool getting a mem and an auto in the same box. Very unlikely, but we could always dream, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
You never know.
Valtteri Pusin. So I don't know too much about Pusin other than on his cards he always looks super duper stunned. So that's how I know Pusin is, that he's just shocked in every photo that I've ever seen him in. Carson Meyer. We got TJ Oshie again, but this time a silver. We got a Lucas Reichel. We got Ghost, Shin Gostbier. Johnny Bedsheets. Colin White. And Andre Burakovsky. So nothing too much happening in that pack, but I think for I think a lot of these coming packs, I think that's what we're kind of expecting at this point. Other than our legend's hiding on us.
And then Julie said new Parker's Champions comes out in a few weeks.
24. What comes out first? 24, 25 artifacts, though, right? Or does Parker's come out first? I don't know what the release schedule is like. I know Artifacts is coming out for 24, 25 soon. But
Artifacts is probably one of my favorites besides SP.
I am a big Artifacts fan as well. I like that product. Thomas Bordelot. We got Nazem Kadri. Artifacts first, Julie says. Thank you for confirming. We got a silver Chandler Stevenson. Oh boy.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Okay, there we go.
That is a legend that you want to pull.
Absolutely. I'm very happy about that. Yeah. So there's our legend, and it's the great one himself. And that's very awesome. And also, talking about big pulls, I did pull a Wayne Gretzky sticker auto out of 10 out of Trilogy, 23-24 Trilogy. So that was another one of my big hits. But yeah,
Nice.
sweet. I always love pulling Gretzky's. And there's your
Oh,
guy
nice.
right here.
There's
every
my
week.
guy.
To go with the Sam Reinhart. Elias Pettersson. Now, the Vancouver folks, like, who exactly are you people that are pooing on Pettersson and asking him to get traded? Like, really? It's like, I'm hearing a lot about this. I'm reading a lot about this. Like, who exactly are you Vancouver fans, air quote fans, that want to trade this guy?
Yeah. All because he's not playing well, but we don't know stuff too. Like, he could be playing through injuries or anything. They don't tell us everything. We just assume that he's not playing well because he doesn't like it or it's not feeling the team. But there's multiple things that could be that we don't know.
Well, if you're a fan, rally behind your guys, because that morale boost when you cheer for them in the arena does wonders. You know, your brain releases chemicals, and
I mean,
it'll
talking about
help you
that
out.
is opening night when the Montreal fans stand and cheered for Patrick Laine, even though he wasn't playing. And you could see that smile. He was trying to hold it back, but you could tell, I could tell just by watching it that we're going to see a different Patrick Laine when he steps on the ice for the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah. So I'm still waiting for that. I mean, we saw him a little bit in preseason, but he already had a long layoff this year and last year, so it's going to take a little while for him to get his legs under him. So I think Montreal fans, especially, you got to be patient with the dude. Canucks fans aren't hockey fans. All right.
CCV coming in hot. Then we got Julie with the nice comment here. Flower undefeated in regular season so far. Yes, he is.
Yeah, it'd be nice if he can go through his last season undefeated. Wouldn't that be something special?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we got a rookie of Braden Schneider, Quinn Hughes. We got a silver Ken Korsak, a rainbow of Mikael Granlund. Again, we were talking about what a season this dude's having, so cool. Thomas Chabot, Andrei Vasilevsky. We got Tyson Berry, and finishing off this pack with Jonathan Drouin. So, it's kind of unfortunate the Drouin's career hasn't panned out as a lot of us would have hoped for. But at the same time, I'm glad he ended up in Colorado. I'm glad he's getting to play with McKinnon again, and at least enjoy what's left of his career, type of idea, right?
Definitely.
And hopefully help the team win. Yeah, because I just know he was not in a good place in Montreal, and wish him all the best. All right, so we got Ronnie Attard. We got Ben Myers. We got a silver Tyler Bertuzzi. And a jukebox legend of Patty Kane.
I like those ones.
So it's a die cut. Yeah, this is a base non-numbered Patty Kane. Jukebox legend. Brent Burns, the Bearded Wonder. We got Ryan O'Reilly, Oliver Bjorkstrand, and Connor Brown. So we got 2 more packs to go. Again, we're not expecting much in these last 2, but It would be nice.
You never know. There's always a chance.
There's always a chance. I mean, because there are silver parallels still in play here, right? So, and rainbows, and you can get legends of those as well. So that doesn't count as your one legend, right? You can get a legend parallel. So fingers crossed. So Roman Yossi, I mean, the team, and again, archaic stat plus minus, but you're not expecting Yossi to have the kind of plus minus that he has this season.
Yeah.
Laffy.
Love Laffy. He started to really show the first round pick that he was going to be.
Yeah, so again, people in the hobby kind of expected like these huge numbers out of the guy, like especially right off the bat. But yeah, I mean, he got drafted to an established team who already had their top six, right?
Yeah.
He had the pandemic. There's a whole slew of reasons to be patient with the guy, right? And the thing with Lafreniere, and like you were saying about Celebrini, is he has the mindset of being a good pro, right? So even if it doesn't turn out like these massive numbers like people hope number one overall draft picks have, I'm fairly confident that him being a pro is going to lead to a long career, right? Because one of his things was his motor, right? And why, he was drafted number one overall and how hard he played the game. And he still does it today.
My biggest thing on Laffy is he really changed from how he was in the CHL. The NHL really turned him into a power forward, and he's really excelling as a power forward. Whereas in the CHL, he's a pure goal scorer.
Yeah, but he always had the never quit. His compete level, that was the big selling point in the draft for Laffy, was his compete level, right? And he's never let that go. And even though he struggled, or what we think is a struggle in terms of numbers, he still maintained that level of compete. And that's why I'm saying, Laffy is a good pro, right? Because despite the results, he still had the compete level.
And if you were to do the draft all over again, I'd still pick Laffy over Byfield.
Over Stützle?
Yeah, I think I call him Flopsla because he flops a lot.
All right. Adam Raska Silver. We got a rainbow Tristan Jerry. So we did get a rainbow. It wasn't a legend. This guy here. We got Thomas Schertl. We got Casey Middlestat. So he's turned his career around in Colorado. Actually, I'm a huge fan of Middlestat. I think just everything is wrong in Buffalo, so it's hard to say what happened there. I don't think he got a fair shake, though. I don't think he got a fair shake in Buffalo, and now he's proven them wrong, right? So he's playing very well in Colorado. And Jacob Slavin. So we are down to our last pack, folks. And thank you all for hanging out with us today, and thank you, Dan, again for having me on your channel.
No problem. It's been a pleasure.
So let's finish off strong, and it's going to be a Thatcher Demko. I hear he's coming back sometime soon. It's a weird thing because you don't hear a lot about him, but then all of a sudden you hear that he's coming back. So it's like, okay.
But you know what?
Sure.
Kevin Lankinen has really stepped up to play for Vancouver, too. Like, I'm really impressed with how Lankinen has played there.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think Vancouver's defense gets enough credit for what they do. And because you don't hear a lot about that. And then when you think of Vancouver's different defense, you think about, the offensive prowess of Quinn Hughes and, Philip Roenick, who's also very good offensively. But, as a team, they play a good team game. Okay,
Yeah.
Isaac Ratcliffe. We got a silver of Colton Parayko. That's not how we wanted to to end off here. Unless, what's this? It's a 50s flashback of
That's cool.
Coast to Coast dialing began in 1950. All right, so these are one of the kind of interesting inserts about Parkers is they got this set in there. So, yeah, Tyler Toffoli, Anthony Cirelli, and we're going to finish off with Phil the Thrill Kessel.
Nice.
And Philip Forsberg.
Who's very underrated as well.
Yeah. You know what? That draft, I really wanted to have to take him. And
yeah, no. He's a great player. He really is. Julie, you'll have to rewatch
for that. Yeah.
Julie coming in hot with DMY the Rangers losing 5 in a row. Julie, they're terrible right now. But no, it's been a great night. Everyone in the chat, thank you for coming. Appreciate you all. Thank you for sticking around with us. It's been a fun night hanging out with BuilderBu here. Had some great laughs, talked some good hockey. So BuilderBu, I don't know if you've seen the show or whatnot, but it's a custom here on the show that the guest closes out the show the way they would close out their video.
Okay.
So tonight you get to close out the show the way you would close out any of your videos.
Okay. So we're done. We're gonna get to go. This is it. Again, thank you so much for having me. Thank you to everyone out there who's watched this stream. Appreciate it. Hope we put on a good show for everyone. And I guess this is how we end off. All right. Good luck and keep on ripping.
Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.
Have a good night.
And